the internet in 2025 is in many ways is such a problematic place, and people are doing things purely just to go viral and to get clicks. But we really do try and bring this idea of positivity forward in the creators that we partner with.
What are your thoughts on LinkedIn?
I think it's still a little bit of a black box to us, but it seems to be a little bit more sort of a personal PR tool for folks than it is necessarily where super interesting creative things are happening.
Where do you see the creator economy heading in the next 3-5 years, and how is Gallery positioning itself to stay ahead?
So there are a couple things that we feel bullish on. So we're playing around a bunch with live shopping. Our chairman, Gary Vaynerchuk, has strong feelings that in 5+ years that there will be AI creators and influencers will have as much influence as human creators for sure. So that's certainly something that we're watching.
Dylan, what are the top things that you look for in a new talent that you're looking to hire or work with?
For sure, authenticity, number one. And I suppose everyone who works in creator marketing might say the same thing. But I think the most interesting creators that are doing the most interesting things are 100% themselves and are not sort of trying to play a character or do different things just to sort of build audience and manufacture audience.
This episode is brought to you by Phyllo, the universal solution for social media background checks and influencer vetting. If you work in background verification, brand reputation, image building, public relations, or influencer marketing, you know how crucial fast and reliable background screening is. With Phyllo Social Screening, you can run AI-powered social media background checks in just 15 minutes, spotting red flags, news mentions, and adverse media across platforms. Trusted by leaders like Global Background Screening, Giggen, Prembly, and Essential Screens, Phyllo Social Screening helps you save millions of dollars in crisis management. Check out the link in the description to book a demo today.
Hi everyone, this is Shubham Tiwari. I head the content marketing and socials at Phyllo, the universal solution for influencer vetting and social media background checks. This is our season 2. We continue to be number 1 on Google when it comes to influencer marketing podcast. All thanks to the guests that we host and viewers and listeners like you. So thank you so much for turning up. I'm thrilled to be joined by someone who's been shaping the creator economy from two very different but equally powerful angles: sports media and lifestyle culture. Dylan MacNamara is the Senior Vice President of Talent and Creator Partnerships at Gallery Media Group, the company behind influential brands like PureWow, 1:37 p.m. and the Gallery Podcast Company. Before this, Dylan spent close to a decade at Bleacher Report, helping pioneer sports media storytelling for a generation that lives on their phones, me included. Dylan, welcome to Impulse. So excited to have you.
I'm so thrilled to be here. I super appreciate you having me and excited to chat.
Well, at the very outset of this podcast, I must tell you that I love Bleacher Report's creatives on Instagram because I follow Bleacher Report on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I'm a massive sports fan, Arsenal fan, if you can see. So I love Bleacher Report's, creatives. So please tell me what's the, sauce behind, standing out of the, competition, because there are, other companies like 433 and then ESPN, so how does Bleacher Report stand out?
I think at Bleacher Report, and I haven't been there obviously for several years now, but at least in early days, I think what BR did really well was sort of embrace creator culture or creator economy before that was even really in the lexicon. And I'm thinking back to 2015-ish or so when one of my colleagues and I should give him more credit, Doug Bernstein is his name, identified a young college sophomore down in Florida named Omar Raja, who was running a account at the time, House of Highlights, which I think had 200,000 or 300,000 followers. And he was basically just reposting sports highlights and giving them sort of catchy captions. And he had a very good eye to sort of, it wasn't necessarily just the big dunk or the big touchdown, but Omar had a really sort of intuitive way of identifying these kind of quirky moments, like, a couple guys sitting on the bench making a joke and laughing or whatever it was, these sort of like very minute moments that would be on the broadcast that people might miss. And then he would upload them and give them these really interesting captions. Anyway, over the course of several months, we convinced Omar to actually drop out of college, which in retrospect was maybe I don't know if that was the best advice, but he came up to New York and we acqui-hired House of Highlights. And I think that was one of the first examples of, sort of really leaning into social as a way to interact with a younger audience. And again, this is probably close to 10 years ago. So Gen Z was, still in high school, coming up into college, but we're really engaging with sports content in a different way on these different social handles. And Omar was kind of behind the scenes at that time, but over the course of several years, we started to put him on camera and make him sort of a creator in his own right, and then built IP with him in different shows where we brought in different athletes and creators and did different things with him. So he was certainly, at least in the sports media space, a super early pioneer when it came to creator and social content and all of those things. And I think back to your original question, I think BR always had a knack for sort of identifying where the younger audience was spending their time and kind of reverse engineering our talent hires or our content strategy based on what our audience was doing. And at that time, it was Gen Z, who were 17, 18, 19 years old. And that's sort of how we defined our strategy.
Wonderful. I mean, shout out to Omar and of course you who hired him. So it's wonderful. Tell me about this, transition that you made, away from Bleacher Report to, Gallery Now. So why did you make this transition and what are you doing at Gallery Now? Please explain to our audience.
Yeah, for sure. So as you said, spent 10 years at Bleacher Report, saw it from very early days when we were just a startup in San Francisco. I think I was the 13th or 14th employee, and then was there through an acquisition from Turner and Time Warner and all sorts of different sort of marks in the evolution of Bleacher Report. After 10 years, it was certainly a great run and time to do something different. And Brian Harwood, the CEO of Gallery Media Group, which is part of VaynerX, so part of Gary Vaynerchuk's larger organization, reached out, and they were looking for someone at that time. So this is 2020. This is actually early COVID days. They were looking for someone to head up talent partnerships. And so how we defined it at that time, talent was more sort of celebrity partnerships. So not necessarily influencers or creators, but folks who had kind of built their careers through film or sports or the arts or whatever it was. So I came on then as sort of a one-man band to focus on these pretty big celebrity partnerships. A couple examples that come to mind is we did a campaign with Halsey, the pop singer, and Samsung, which was a super complex and sort of 6-month-long partnership that involved putting a Samsung product in one of her music videos and PR, and there was a meet and greet and a bunch of social posts. And so it was very focused on these very big campaigns with pretty A-level talent. About a year and a half ago, we made the decision to take the existing influencer team, which was separate from celebrity at that time, and what I was doing, and put them under one roof. So the teams are now both under my roof, if you will. And we've tried to, obviously, as you know, celebrity and influencer and creator, these are things that are all sort of blending now very much. There are influencers and creators and streamers who are now A-list celebrities in their own right. So the lines are all very blurred. But so we now manage at any given time between 20 and 35 influencer, creator, or celebrity campaigns. Those could be campaigns as small as one micro-influencer doing one post for a smaller brand, all the way up to year-long ambassadorships. We're now working with Ulta as their influencer agency of record, Ulta Beauty. So we're right now going through the process of refreshing the Ulta Beauty Collective, which is 45 to 50 creators on year-long ambassadorships doing things with Ulta Beauty over the course of the year. So the types of campaigns vary in size, again, from very small one-offs to year-long ambassadorships and kind of everything in between. So that's what I'm doing now, and it's been such a fun journey over the last 5 years working with Gary and Ryan and the rest of the crew.
Wonderful. The gallery's mantra is make positivity louder. Can you please explain how do you inculcate this into your work culture and what does it mean?
It's a great question. It means different things in different contexts. I think in terms of how it manifests itself with what we're doing in influencer and creative, I think immediately what comes to mind is sort of how we make our sourcing decisions. So when we're putting together lists of creators for our various clients, whoever they might be, we certainly want to vet the influencers and make sure that they are sort of embodying that ethos of bringing positive content onto their channels and onto their platforms. And positivity can mean different things to different people, but generally we want to make sure that people are left feeling good and uplifted and not sort of leaning into negativity and controversy and sort of exploitive content that maybe gets a lot of clicks, but is ultimately not necessarily making people feel great at the end of the day. So certainly the way that we look at how we source our influencers and how we bring them into projects is very much rooted in, are these people who genuinely we feel good about, both in terms of who they are and then the types of content that they make. And that's all sort of rooted in this idea of making positivity out.
Right. So if I give you like a couple of examples, would a creator like IShowSpeed fit into the roster of Gallery and the theme of make positivity louder? Because he is controversial.
He is controversial indeed. I mean, I'm a fan of IShowSpeed, and I think we would love to work with him in the right context. I mean, he's not someone that I think is necessarily doing things
problematic.
Below. Yeah. It's not problematic. Yeah. It's rooted in fun and competition and doing different things. So I don't see him as someone necessarily that I would say is super controversial, right. And hopefully we get to work with him at some point.
Yeah. I ask this question to everyone. Who do you like more, MrBeast or IShowSpeed? Who do you think is the bigger influencer? Not in terms of just subscribers, but who's actually influencing people?
I mean, personally, I prefer IShowSpeed. I would,
thank God,
if I had to say, I would guess that MrBeast ultimately has more influence, quote unquote. But my own subjective sort of content consumption, I prefer an IShowSpeed. Some of the sort of, the like putting people in a plane to see how long they can last to win the 250K. Some of that seems a little bit dystopian to me sometimes.
Yeah, I also don't dig it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm more of an IShowSpeed guy.
I mean, the guy goes on, world tour, and the like hundreds and thousands of people are behind him on the road. So I mean, IShowSpeed all day. So speaking of, the kind of creators you work with at Phyllo, we built a social media screening APIs that help agencies and platforms vet influencers, pass content for brand safety risks. So from your perspective, how critical is influencer vetting today when one, old post can, of course, ruin careers and brands if they associate with them? So how do you do that? The brand safety part.
Yeah, so it's hugely important and something that comes up for us all the time. I mean, generally speaking, we're working with Fortune 500 brands, obviously with some exceptions, but we're working with some of the biggest brands in the world who have massive compliance teams and brand safety teams and PR teams that are, keep getting paid a lot of money to make sure that their brands are safe. So the creators and influencers that they're partnering with need to reflect their brand ethos. So we have a couple different tools that we use, a couple different softwares that will run our sourcing list through, that will go back and, check, almost do like background checks. Have they been arrested? Have they posted content that used derogatory terms or racist language? Or, some brands really want to steer away from political content, and, we vet for those things as well. So it's super important. I mean, there have been times where we've missed things and we've put influencers or creators up for campaigns when ultimately they wouldn't or shouldn't have been a fit. They shouldn't have made it through our vetting process. So we've made mistakes along the way, and that's made us look foolish in front of our clients. So it's vitally important that whatever that client and our client partners' criteria is, that we are vetting our influencers and creators against that, because very quick way to lose a client is to sign a creator for a campaign that doesn't reflect the brand values of our client.
Right. And what did you think of, when X, formerly Twitter, removed, your likes? People, could see earlier what you were liking, what you're not liking. So as a creator, you would not really, even like the political stuff or, anything which is not politically incorrect. How do you look at that move? Does that even count? Do you check that also still somehow? Like who's liking what?
That's an interesting question. And it's... to my knowledge, no, it's not something that we do check. And I mean, just personally speaking, like I think, of course, everyone has different political views and different views of how to move in the world. And I don't think anyone should be disqualified for having personal feelings or views. And if they engage with content and like something, I don't think that should be disqualifying outside of, certain extreme examples. If it's, hugely racist, or, there's certain things where if we saw a creator was engaging or sort of supporting that content, then I think that would be a step too far. But, politically speaking or otherwise, people obviously have their own opinions and their own beliefs, and how they're engaging, how they're spending their own time online is, I think that's sort of their business. Of course, if it comes back to them posting and them sort of amplifying their positions through their own content, again, they're welcome to their own opinions and their own views, but certain brands might not want to align with that. And so I think that's where most of our vetting happens, is when they're amplifying their own opinions.
Right. Beyond vetting, if you look beyond vetting, there's also the constant noise on social media. With our social listening APIs, we help brands detect early signals of crises and understand cultural shifts or cultural points. So do you think listening tools like these can give agencies and creators a competitive edge in protecting reputation and, of course, spotting opportunities?
I think absolutely. We've played around with a couple different platforms now that I don't remember immediately off the top of my head, but I think absolutely. I mean, I think social listening tools are hugely important, and showing our clients and our brand partners that we are anticipating issues, or the inverse. Maybe we're anticipating that there's this moment that's bubbling up in some corner of social that we can capitalize on behalf of our clients, I think is super important. I think transparently, I don't think we've harnessed that sort of technology very well yet. But certainly it's something that we can be doing more of, and probably should be doing more of, because I know when harnessed well, it can be a huge value add.
Right. And if we now zoom out, where do you see the creator economy heading in the next 3-5 years? And how is Gallery positioning itself to stay ahead?
So there are a couple things that we feel bullish on. 5 years is certainly a long time, but at least over the next
it's too much.
several
3 years.
years.
Yeah.
So we're playing around a bunch with live shopping. So something that's big in Asia,
China,
for sure.
Yeah,
exactly. But collaborating with creators who can go live on TikTok and can actually move products, and not just in necessarily sort of a QVC way, but can gamify it, or can still make compelling content that fans or users will engage with, but while also selling something. Everyone obviously is talking about AI creators and sort of the future of what that looks like. Obviously, having worked in the human creator space for a long time, I have some mixed feelings about it, but certainly Gary, our chairman, Gary Vaynerchuk, has strong feelings that in 5+ years that there will be AI creators and influencers will have as much influence as human creators, for sure. So that's certainly something that we're watching, and we haven't, to my knowledge, I don't think that we've collaborated with any AI creators yet on a campaign, but I'm sure that that's something that we'll play around with at some point. And then something that we've invested in a bunch recently, and I think we'll only invest in more, is events, experiential. So working with creators and influencers to actually bring people out into the world, have their fans show up at certain places or do certain things. I think we see from our brand partners, they really value that. If we can get people physically out into the world, offline, engage with things, touch things, live in the real shared human experience, that's really valuable as well. So we've launched creator houses all over the country, at Coachella and in the Hamptons and at Stagecoach and all these different moments. But the ethos of all of them is partner with creators, partner with influencers, partners with talent who don't just have influence online, but can actually rally people in person to, again, touch, feel, interact with products and things in real life. I think that's going to continue to be more and more important as the whole sort of, it's been 5 years since COVID, but we're now back in the real world. And I think brands think that those things are really important, as do I.
Right. You spoke about, creator brand partnerships. What about, tech partnerships? With the rise of, again, these AI tools, data-rich APIs, and commerce-driven platforms, what kind of tech partnerships do you believe will define the next phase of influencer marketing and public relations? I've
been thinking about this a lot lately, but I think, and I'm certainly not someone who knows a ton about AI technology, but I think having spoken to people in the industry, I think on the talent management side and on the creator management side, I think there's a lot of opportunity for AI tools to empower managers and agents to potentially be better at their jobs. So offloading some back office tasks like contracting and invoicing and getting their creators paid more quickly. I'm sure many creators feel the pain points of getting paid on time and getting a creative brief that's 15 pages long and sort of going through it and understanding exactly what the brand is looking for. I think AI can plug in these little different sort of back office moments and distill the work down to make it infinitely easier and more efficient for both the managers and then ultimately the creators. I think also more on the creator side, I think, and it, again, this is more to supplement the work that I hate to say it, but now human creators are doing, but potentially tools that could help them storyboard their content. Or I know many creators who are using ChatGPT to spark ideas or to sort of brainstorm with them around concepts, even to audit their own content. I mean, I was talking to a creator the other day who was saying, like, I look back at my content from the last 3 months. I don't know why one video performed better than another.
Exactly.
But there are certainly tools that could tell me, like, hey, the videos that posted, before 9 a.m. on Wednesdays outperformed everything else. And the ones that focused on automotive content with voiceover outperformed everything else. And it can sort of really pinpoint like what specific creators' audiences are expecting out of the creators that they follow. So I'm hopeful that AI doesn't, over time become a replacement of human creators, because I don't know that sort of relationship between a fan and a creator can be mimicked in the same way if it's AI. So I hope that relationship never goes away. But I do think that AI can at least supplement and help creators and their managers and agents do their jobs more efficiently and better, and ultimately more creatively. So that's my hope with tech and tech partnerships in this space as we move forward.
Wonderful. And what are your views on LinkedIn? It's somehow still is an enigma of what goes, how people are going viral on it, particularly with the video content that they have come out with. You can go out with, all the people who dish out a lot of, quick tips and all, but it's still, there is no method to the madness. So what are your thoughts on LinkedIn?
I see it as a valuable tool for myself. I mean, certainly, we have a team of 13 or 14 now. So I still see it as a pretty valuable tool in terms of recruiting and keeping, use the term a warm bench, but just like knowing who out there in the space is doing interesting things, and young folks reach out and that are interested in influencer marketing that I keep a dialogue with. So I think it's all a super helpful tool in terms of the folks who are now becoming LinkedIn influencers and such. I see the posts and they all seem to follow a very sort of formulaic pattern of the way that the text is written and the emoji usage and the videos and all the things. So clearly there's a formula that's working for folks. I don't quite know. We don't do campaign. I can't think of a campaign that we've done where we've worked with a creator on LinkedIn specifically. So I don't have a great sense for how LinkedIn influencers are sort of parlaying that content into monetization or influence or whatever it is. So I think it's still a little bit of a black box to us. And I haven't seen many brands show a ton of interest again in collaborating with creators on that platform. That's not to say that it's not happening or that it's not to come, but it seems to be a little bit more of sort of a personal PR tool for folks than it is necessarily where super interesting creative things are happening. But again, I may be not on the right corners of LinkedIn.
Dylan, what are the top 3 things that you look for in a new talent that you're looking to hire or work with?
Such a good question. I mean, some of the things that immediately come to mind, I think, are a little bit tropes, but I think for sure, authenticity, number one. And I suppose everyone who works in creator marketing might say the same thing. But I think the most interesting creators that are doing the most interesting things are 100% themselves and are not sort of trying to play a character or do different things just to sort of, build audience and manufacture audience. So authenticity, one. I think the creators that I personally follow just as a consumer of content, I think 2 are becoming increasingly niche. There's one creator that I love in New York where I live, who just walks around various parts of the city with a keyboard. I don't know if I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he has a keyboard and this whole sort of mixing equipment. And he'll just walk up to people and they start rapping and they make this incredible music kind of on the spot. And it really sort of, it brings creativity and art and content creation and all the things really into 1 30 or 45-second video, which I love. So people that really have their niches and sort of lean into their talents and not try to be such a, sort of broad lifestyle or wellness or whatever it is, but find these ultra niche lanes, I think is super, super important. And the engagement always seems to reflect that. So authenticity folks who understand kind of what they're good at and lean into that, I think is something that we really value. And then kind of as we were speaking about before, I mean, the internet in 2025 is in many ways is such a problematic place, and people are doing things purely just to go viral and to get clicks, and particularly, and some of these streamers, the guy in France the other day that passed away while it's just, there's some really dark,
so many
ugly, it's just a lot of ugliness out there. So, maybe it sounds a little trite, but we really do try and bring this idea of positivity forward in the creators that we partner with. So we really want to be working with people who are in whatever their lane is, in whatever way that they're creating content, that's really at the forefront of what they're doing. Because it's, there's enough crappy stuff on the internet that's making people feel bad, and young kids feel unhealthy or insecure or whatever it is. And, in our little corner of the internet, we want to be doing the inverse. And so that's something that really matters to us.
Wonderful. Dylan, couple of rituals that we make our guests go through at the end of the interview. First one, would you like to give us a book recommendation? It can be your all-time favorite or something that you might be reading right now.
A book recommendation. I'm reading a book right now that now I'm not going to remember the title of, but it's by my bedside table.
Happens to the best of us.
One is Atlantic. So this book is the history of the Atlantic Ocean, which sounds...
Wow. I love it. I love this. Voyages, oceans, I love this genre.
Yeah, so it's sort of even the formation of the Atlantic Ocean millions and millions of years ago, all the way through discoveries and the battles that have been fought on the Atlantic Ocean, storms, just sort of all of the stories that have come out of that body of water, which is super interesting. 700 or so pages, so lock in with that one. And then super niche, a book that my grandfather wrote called Those Were the Days, My Friend, which is a book. He was a publicist in Hollywood in the 1940s and 50s, and this book is about when he worked for David O. Selznick, who was a producer who did Gone with the Wind and some other big films of the time, and just sort of little anecdotes and stories from the golden age of Hollywood.
That's some family history right there.
There it is.
Wonderful, Dylan. Last thing, would you like to nominate anyone for our show?
I would love to nominate someone for your show off the top of my head. Do you speak with creators themselves?
We used to, and we can host them also. We have a pretty good IP around creators also.
So Jacob Zander, who's a friend of mine, is a creator, but also an artist and a furniture maker and a clothing designer, and doing a bunch of different interesting things. And I think really kind of embodies a lot of what we've been talking about, at least from the creator side, in terms of making content that is tethered both to things that I think bring people joy and happiness, and he's also making things in the real world and then sort of telling the story online in a really interesting way. So Jacob is a favorite of mine for sure that I would recommend, and also just an interesting dude. So I'll recommend him, and I'll think of some others. Maybe I'll shoot you a note after this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dylan, for your time today. This has been very insightful. You've been a veteran of the industry, and I've been a fan of Bleachers, and of course you have been the energy behind, the talent behind Bleachers. So we wish you all the best. And there is amazing stuff happening in 2025. I'm glad that you're an IShowSpeed fan. I'm also an IShowSpeed fan. So yeah, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much, Dylan.
It was such a pleasure. I appreciate you having me and the super thoughtful questions, and look forward to coming on again, maybe in the future when we've done some more cool things and can chop it up again.
Definitely. And thanks to our audience for sticking with us. Do let us know what you thought of this episode. Comment in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to us on Spotify, you know how to reach us. We will put, the links of Dylan's profile in the description, as well as galleries, links. So do check out if you're a creator, and do follow Dylan if you're interested in his work. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Impulse, the influencer marketing podcast, is brought to you by Phyllo. Phyllo is the easiest way to get access to authenticated creator data from hundreds of different platforms. To know more about Phyllo, visit getphyllo.com. That's get,
PHYLLO.com. Also, make sure to search for Influencer Marketing Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Podcasts. And don't forget to click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Phyllo, thank you so much for listening.